The bloom birthday cards have been out for a while in Japan, but Ian is just getting them now. I've been wanting to do a video dissecting the flower language of the bouquets for a while now, but because of the art, I put it off. I was hoping we'd get, like, an official list of plants in the bouquets. I love these cards, but because it's art, things will get simplified, so identifying some of these plants was a nightmare. A new merch line dropped for these cards a couple months ago, and I hoped it would give us a better view of the flowers, or even a list. It didn't, which irritates me, not going to lie. I would love an official list, but I'm not waiting for the next art book where there's only a slim possibility they'll list the flowers. I'd prefer to have an official list to work off, but we're just going to be IDing the plants the old-fashioned way. Typing random shit into Google and hoping for the best. And also texting my dad for help since he loves gardening. I'm fairly confident in my identifications, but I'm no expert in plants. I'm tired of waiting for something I don't know will come, and since the cards are dropping, I don't have the luxury of waiting anymore. The majority of my information on flower language is from Petal Republic and hananokultiba.com. I know not having a lot of sources is not the greatest practice, but the problem I ran into while researching was a lot of these sites that talk about flower language have some sort of commercial angle to them, like a store. Obviously, it would be in their best interest to not lie about what flowers mean, but at the end of the day, they're trying to sell flowers, and maybe it's cynical of me, but the fact that they're trying to sell flowers makes me lose trust in them because they have a motive to perhaps tweak a flower's meaning to make it more positive. So the sources I used at this time don't have stores attached to them. But anyways, sources will be listed on screen as well in the description, so if you want more information, I highly encourage you go to those sites. Especially Petal Republic, their site is a lifesaver, and also has a lot of fun articles about flowers in general if you're into gardening. hananokultiba.com is both in English and Japanese, so also be sure to check it out. Flower language has been around for hundreds and hundreds of years, and all cultures have their own different takes on flower language. Because Twist, while a Japanese game, has a lot of aspects influenced by British and US cultures, I'll be analyzing the bouquet with Hanakultiba, Japanese flower language, and Floriography, which is the fancy English word for flower language. They mean the same thing, but just know when I say Hanakultiba, I'm specifically referring to Japanese symbolism, and when I say Floriography, I'm referring to the English/US/Western flower language. While some meanings overlap, not all of them do, so I just want to be clear on what flower language I got what information from. So, what flowers does Kate have in his birthday bouquet? He has yellow and orange roses, white gerbera, white gomphrena, what's either a pale yellow rose or a pale yellow carnation, yellow tiger lilies, yellow hand-carrying oncidium, gold rush erica, and yellow baby's breath. The bouquet is a lot like Kate. It looks bright and cheery, but Jesus Christ, the meaning of these flowers is, not cheery. To start off with something not extremely depressing, let's start with tiger lilies, which symbolize wealth. Kate's family is mentioned to be wealthy or at least upper middle class, so I take this flower as a nod to his background rather than saying something about him, you know? But yeah, 1, I doubt the tuition at Night River College is cheap, and 2, even if it's for a job and you're probably getting some reimbursements, being able to move around that much is going to cost a lot of money. Okay, now we can move on to more depressing things. Oh god, this is gonna be such a depressing video. One of the themes in this bouquet is new beginnings and starting something new. We have 2 flowers for that, yellow baby's breath and the yellow hand-carrying oncidium. However, I should mention that baby's breath is considered a filler flower, so while I can connect it to Kate, it might not be super important, just to put that disclaimer out there. But considering there's 2 flowers with more or less the same meaning, I personally lean to it not just being a filler flower. But anyways, these flowers reflect that Kate is unfortunately very well acquainted with starting over and starting something new. His family is constantly moving around because of his father's job, and because of that, he more or less is forced to have new beginnings. The second prominent theme is friendship. Yeah, it just goes downhill from here, I wasn't joking. Both the hand-carrying oncidium and the orange roses have some sort of connection to friendship. So the oncidium is a type of orchid, and that plant in general has no specific meaning. The closest I could get was orchids just in general, so take this with a grain of salt. In Floriography, orchids are, quote, a symbol of friendship, and also starting new things like I mentioned 4 seconds ago. Orange roses are kind of a newer thing. They started getting bred in the 40s or 50s, so they have no meaning in Victorian flower language because they just did not exist. And honestly, most of Floriography, at least that I understand, a lot of it comes from Victorian flower language, so yeah. But anyways, even now they're just kind of when it comes to Floriography. Roses in general mean romance and love. Orange, however, does have a solid meaning in Hanakotoba. Depending on the situation, it either symbolizes a strong platonic love, or it symbolizes a, quote, particularly passionate and energetic pursuit of someone new. Now, the author's note where I got this from specified that the burnt orange color is more linked to platonic love, but like, orange is orange. To me, these flowers symbolize Kate's, issues with friendship. Because his family moves around so much, he's had a hard time maintaining friendships, and it's instilled this very awful idea that everyone around him is temporary. And because everyone is temporary, he shouldn't form too strong of an attachment and should keep everyone at arm's length. Kate is an incredibly lonely person, and because of the pain he's gone through in the past, he tries to keep himself safe by not allowing him to form deep friendships with people. Not gonna lie, the friendship angle feels more like twisting a knife. So the remaining flowers have their own unique meaning, so we're gonna stop categorizing these by theme and talk about what flower means since there's no through line anymore pretty much. First up, we have a plant that took me like 2 whole days to identify. It's specifically called Goldrush erica. It has no meaning in Floriography, and for the US at least, this kind of plant is usually referred to as a heather. However, I couldn't find like a different name for this plant, so like, I don't know. But anyways, erica plants in general have meaning in Hanakotoba, thank God. They represent solitude. Kate, although he does have some friends, is honestly more of a solitary person. He's talked about how he has trouble making friends because he has to move around a lot thanks to his dad's job. He's come to the conclusion all friends are temporary, and like, he's lonely. He's so lonely. While he has friends, he keeps them at arm's length because he doesn't want to bear the pain of losing them. Yellow roses have a fairly interesting history when it comes to flower language. During the Victorian era, they used to mean jealousy, waning love, trying to care. Nowadays, they're a lot more happy. In modern Floriography, they mean happiness, caring, and appreciation. However, this is too happy for this bouquet, so I'm going to ignore that. Oh my god. I didn't realize how awful that sounded until I just read that out loud. I'm like, oh, that was a really harsh sentence. Interestingly, though, in Hanakotoba, they still actually mean jealousy. This flower for me reveals that Kate is jealous of others, specifically in the fact that they can afford to make close friends. While Kate might come from a privileged background, he's jealous of others not having to uproot their lives like every single year. He's jealous others can form close bonds. He's jealous others can be their authentic selves while he feels like he has to put on a show of a cute, friendly Kate when that's not really him. White gerbera has the same meaning in both Floriography and Hanakotoba, purity and innocence. Kate acts all friendly and cute, and I think he cultivates this image of being genuine when he's really not super genuine. I don't think it's really that off to say he tries to appear innocent in the sense of some cultures have the tendency to associate cuteness with innocence. And I also think even beyond that, Kate tries to not let people know just how jaded he actually is. I can't speak for other cultures or even all of US culture, but I know for me personally, there's this idea in my neck of the woods that you lose friends as you grow up. This coincides with becoming an adult, or in other words, losing the innocence associated with being a kid. Maybe I'm just reaching, but outside from the cuteness equals innocence concept, I think we could think of the loss of innocence in relation to growing up. Most people have that losing friends around graduation, but that's happened to Kate a lot earlier, and if we follow this line, it could represent him having lost some kind of innocence far too early. We have what I think is white gomphrena, but I'm gonna be fully honest, this is the one flower I'm not super certain about. I'll get more into it in a few minutes, but I have doubts on what it supposedly means in Floriography. However, I was able to find concrete meaning in Hanakotoba, which is immortality. At first I was kinda lost on that and wondering if it was just a fluke, but then I remembered Kate's favorite hobby, taking photos. Photos that will forever preserve a moment in time, so long as the photo exists. Photography leaves a record, and I think it's safe to say immortality in this case is referring to him taking pictures since, like, they're kind of forever. And finally, we have yellow carnations. I think. These could be roses, but I'm pretty sure they're carnations. In both flower languages we're discussing, they mean rejection and disappointment. The rejection goes both ways in my opinion. It refers not only to Kate pushing people away to protect himself, but also the rejection he might feel at past friends for not trying to keep up the friendship. And as for the disappointment, Kate has made it clear in vignettes he does not like the situation he's in. This bouquet is so cheery, isn't it? This video has been depressing as hell, so I'd like to end on a light note on a special little segment that I'm gonna call Yume Joshi Ijo no Koi ga Shitai. I can't play the song I'm referencing because YouTube will execute me if I do, but I'm referencing an Aqua song. The truth is, I've actually left out a few meanings that are attached to these flowers. I've left them out specifically because they have ties to romance. As a huge proponent for self-ship on main, I wanted to have all of these in their own little segment, so if self-shipping's not really your thing, you can just leave. But if you do, let's have a little fun with some speculation on my behalf. Let's start with Orange Roses since I already mentioned their romantic angle earlier. As a refresher, since I have the memory of a goldfish, Orange Roses can mean a particularly passionate and energetic pursuit of someone new. As I have said like 4 million times, Kate is a very lonely person. If he got to the point of having feelings for someone and he felt more or less secure wherever he ends up, I think he would end up chasing someone a little bit obsessively, and I don't mean in like a yandere way or anything, but Kate clearly craves affection and connection with people, so I think if he had a crush or he knew he wasn't going to be moving around anymore, he would go all out to secure a partner and get that connection he wants so terribly. White Gomfrina can also symbolize unfading love and Hanakotoba. I think while Kate is absolutely capable of healing, I think especially for like his first real relationship, he would be extremely dedicated, and as he would allow himself to be more vulnerable as he heals, he would fall harder and harder in love. I think even to get into a relationship in the first place, he would have to be like very, very certain that this person was probably the one, and after getting together, I can see him loving them forever and committing to making it work. I do want to note that allegedly in Floriography, White Gomfrina has an identical meaning in the love department to Hanakotoba. However, I could only really find one source for what it means in Floriography, but it's from a flower shop. Supposedly, it means, quote, my love will never fade or die. However, again, this is from a flower shop, which exists to sell flowers and make money, so I don't really trust them. Like, yeah, it would be in their best interest to not lie about flower meanings, but they're a business and we live in a capitalist hellscape, so like, I think my distrust is justified. But also, given the symbolism in Hanakotoba, like, I don't know, man. I'm just sticking to Hanakotoba for this one. And while it's not necessarily a huge thing, orchids can also mean love. And that's it! Those are the flowers in Kate's bouquet and what they mean. I hope you guys enjoyed this analysis, and you'll join me on the 24th for Azul's bouquet analysis. Thank you everyone for watching, and a very special thank you to my channel members and Twitch subs. Your support helps me to continue to make these videos. If you'd like early access to my videos, consider becoming a channel member. Patrons and Ko-fi members can get my scripts early before I record them. I livestream over on Twitch every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. Thanks again, guys, and I'll see y'all later.